I'm Mark Matsumoto and I was born here in Japan, but I grew up in California. Kinda like the California roll, I want to show you how to make at home today. Just because these rolls aren't part of the Japanese sushi tradition doesn't mean they're not delicious, and I've got some tricks to show you that I learned from master sushi chefs here in Tokyo. I've also got a hack for making California rolls without a bamboo sushi mat, so stick around. Alright, let's check out our ingredients. The defining feature of sushi isn't raw fish, it's the rice. That's why I've got videos showing you how to cook Japanese short grain rice, how to make sushi vinegar, and how to mix the two to make sushi rice like the best restaurants here in Japan. So check the links in the video description down below. Another important ingredient for sushi is the nori, and you want to look for crisp nori that's almost black in color with a slightly green tint. A burnt hair smell or brownish tint are signs the nori's gone bad, so be sure to look out for these signs. For California rolls, you need half sheets of nori, so stack up a few full sheets with the lines going up and down like this, and then you want to use a sharp knife to slice this in half. For the fillings, I've got one Japanese cucumber, but Lebanese or English cucumbers will work. You'll also want a ripe avocado, along with some lemon juice to keep it from browning. For the crab, I've got 200 grams of shelled snow crab legs, but any cooked crab or imitation crab will work as well. I'm also using some toasted sesame seeds. To prep the cucumber, line up a sheet of nori and trim the ends off the cucumber so it's the same width. This ensures your cucumber ends up the right size. Then I'm gonna slice the cucumber in half lengthwise, and then slice the halves into quarters. Now you want to remove the gelatinous center of each strip. These immature seeds contain a ton of water and they'll make your roll soggy. Once your cucumbers are trimmed, slice the sticks lengthwise into strips that are about 1/5 of an inch or 5 millimeters wide. The most important thing here is that your strips be about the same width from end to end, or your roll's gonna end up lopsided. For the avocado, carefully slice it down the center towards the pit and rotate it around the knife until you end up back where you started. Now twist one half to separate it from the pit. Then you want to gently tap and twist your knife to pop the pit out of the other half. Next, you want to peel both halves of the avocado. By the way, when you're choosing avocados, the oblong ones tend to have smaller pits relative to the amount of flesh, so you'll get more creamy goodness in each one. Some jerk bruised this one in the store, so I'm gonna trim that part off. Cut the halves into quarters. Then I'm gonna cut these into thin wedges by holding the knife at a 15-degree angle to the cutting board and slicing while pressing down and away from the knife with my other hand. This will slide the remaining wedge over so you can cut another thin wedge. You should be able to get 4 to 5 wedges out of each quarter of avocado. Now you want to give the avocado a drizzle of lemon juice to keep it from oxidizing. The last thing we need to prep is a bowl of tezu. This is just cold water with some rice vinegar or lemon juice added. We'll use this to keep our hands wet so the rice doesn't stick to them as we shape our rolls. Okay, our prep's done, so let's get rolling. I'll show you the matless technique in a minute, but for the first roll I'm using a sushi mat. Since the nori is getting covered up, it doesn't matter which side you use. Now I'm gonna wet my hands with the tezu and grab a cylinder of rice that's about the size of a potato. Gently shape it into a cylinder with your hands and wet them some more if the rice starts sticking. Then I'm gonna gently stretch the cylinder of sushi rice across the nori, leaving a 1/4-inch border of nori along the top. Then I'm gonna wet my fingers and use one hand as a guide while I use the fingertips of my other hand to gently spread the rice down towards the bottom edge of the nori. Repeat this on the other side. Then you can use the fingertips of both hands to spread the remaining mound of rice down to the bottom edge. Be careful not to smash the grains of rice together or you'll end up with a dense layer of mochi instead of sushi rice. This takes a bit of practice, but keep spreading until you have an even layer of rice from one side to the other. By the way, this is a plastic sushi mat, so there's no need to wrap it, but if you're using a bamboo one, be sure to wrap it with plastic wrap to keep the rice from sticking. Once you're happy with your coverage, sprinkle the rice with an even coating of toasted sesame seeds. You can also spread tobiko onto your rice for something a little different. Flip this over from top to bottom so the nori side is facing up with the border along the bottom edge of the mat. Now I'm gonna stagger 3 wedges of avocado along the center of the nori so they're roughly the same thickness from end to end. Place a strip of cucumber on top of the avocado. Then I'm gonna spread a few crab legs on top of the veggies. Don't get too greedy with the fillings here or your roll won't close. I recommend starting with less filling for your first roll and adding more in the next one if it works out. Now I'm gonna slip my thumbs under the bottom edge of the mat and use my fingers to hold the fillings in place while I flip the bottom edge up and over the fillings until it meets the nori on the other side. Give this a little squeeze to set the shape, and then you want to use one hand to pull the mat forward while you use the other hand to roll the sushi so the seam is on the bottom. Give the roll a squeeze from the top with your forefingers as well as the sides with your remaining fingers. You can finish this off by moving the roll over to one side of the mat and using wet fingers to press on the sides of the roll to give the end pieces a nice shape. Repeat this on the other side and our first California roll is done. Now let me show you how to roll this without a sushi mat. We're gonna start with the nori and same cylinder of sushi rice that will spread from one side to the other, leaving a border along the top. Then we're gonna work the rice down to the bottom edge, just like before. Sprinkle the rice with sesame seeds and then flip the rice and nori over. Then we add the fillings to the center of the nori. To roll this, I'm going to grab the bottom edge of the rice and nori and flip it up and over the filling using my fingers to hold the filling in place, and then I'm going to keep rolling until the seam is on the bottom. You're probably thinking this looks pretty bad, but here's the trick. I'm going to use a double layer of parchment paper to wrap our California roll. Then you can use one hand to hold the roll in place while you use your other hand to cinch the end of the paper up so it's nice and snug around your roll. Now I can use the paper to help me apply even pressure on the sides and top of the roll to compress the rice and give our roll a nice shape. If all went well, your roll should end up looking like this. Before we cut and plate up our California roll, I want to take a moment to thank all of you who've signed up for my weekly recipes over at marksrecipes.com. It's where I showcase my take on regional Japanese specialties like the sesame marinated hamachi from Kyushu, as well as creative originals like this tuna mint ceviche. And because it's member supported, there are no banner ads. There's a rotating collection of free recipes for you to preview, so if you're not a member yet, head over and check them out. All right. Let's cut this roll up. To cut up the roll, you want to wet your knife with some tezu to keep the rice from sticking to it. Then I'm going to cut the roll in half. Unlike sashimi, rolls aren't cut with a single stroke, so it's more important that your knife be sharp than long. Next, I'm going to line the two halves up and cut these in half again. Make sure you keep your knife wet and cut these halves into half again to make 8 pieces of sushi. Now I'm gonna flip these face up so you can see the filling and transfer them over to my serving plate. I like to stagger the pieces of sushi up like this. To finish off the plate, I'm gonna garnish it with a few shiso leaves, along with a mound of gari or pickled sushi ginger, and I'll link to my recipe for this in the video description below. To finish this off, I've got some freshly grated wasabi that I'm gonna set on top of the shiso leaves. And our California roll is done. You know, California rolls are hands down my favorite sushi rolls, so let's try these out. Itadakimasu. All right, get a big piece here. I'm gonna get a little bit of wasabi, put it in the soy sauce. Now I'm using fresh wasabi today, so this is gonna make a big difference. I don't even know where to start. That savory crab with that creamy avocado, of course, makes it taste amazing. You've got a little bit of crisp crunch from that cucumber that adds a really nice, refreshing touch. And it's all wrapped in that savory, sweet sushi rice that's got the amazing texture and these little bits of sesame seeds that pop in your mouth. You know, they say the sushi chef that created the California roll was inspired by otoro, or tuna belly. It's that creamy part of the tuna. And with that briny crab and the creamy avocado, I could see where he was going. Rolling sushi can be a little bit tricky, but with a little practice, anyone can do it at home. So I hope you'll give it a try. Well, I'm gonna make a few more rolls for dinner, but check out this playlist for all of my sushi recipes. And I'll catch you in the next one.